The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello everyone and welcome to ADP Vantage HCM training. We are going to get started momentarily. I just wanted to make sure that if you have already dialed in that you used the provided PIN number. And also a note that all attendees will be muted until the end of the session, at which point a question and answer session will begin. However, if you are uncomfortable asking questions or you have a question that you don't think can wait until the end of the training session, please feel free to type it in, and I will hold the question until we open the floor to questions and answers, and then I will most definitely answer those. If you would please at this point, there is a raise your hand icon to ensure that all attendees can both hear me and view the presentation on the screen. If you would please raise your hand now, I'd appreciate it. Great, I did see a couple of hands go up, so I figure if two or more can see, then everybody else can too. We're just going to sit tight for another minute or so to see if there are any more attendees getting ready to log on, and then we will get started. Okay, everyone, thanks for holding. It is now 3 minutes after the top of the hour. We're going to go ahead and get started. My name is Jane Frank, and I will be facilitating this afternoon's ADP Vantage HCM training, so welcome everyone. I would also like to introduce Vanessa De La Rosa with our Shared Services support team. She will be walking us through some of the activities that we're going to look at today in the actual test environment. And on the line we also have Candy Eiler, who is with Transamerica, and she's going to be talking to you today about 401k and 401k options. So welcome everyone, just sit back and enjoy, and we're going to go ahead and get started. So first we're going to cover the agenda, what we are going to see in the first part of this session. The first thing we're going to talk about is the introduction to ADP Vantage HCM, and we're also going to go over associate self-service. We are then going to cover time and attendance, and in time and attendance we'll be covering the manager activities with regards to associate time cards. We are not going to be covering manager self-service at this point. We will be holding additional training for that sometime in the near future. By the end of this introduction to ADP Vantage HCM and Associate Self-Service, you should be able to register for and log into and out of the application, understand the menus and icons, and understand Associate Self-Service. Now, one of the things that I did want to mention is a little change in terminology. I've been advised that your group refers to employees as employees. At FirstService, we refer to employees as associates. So as we are going through this session and any other session that you may attend, please know that when we refer to associates, that we are referring to all employees. And at this point, all employees means just that. So what we're going to be discussing in part 1 is for all associates, exempt, non-exempt, hourly, salary, the like. So you'll access ADP Vantage HCM from a browser window using the URL you see on the screen. You can access Vantage HCM from anywhere there is internet access, including your home, the office, could be a Starbucks, so it's very convenient to use. Now upon entering the URL, you'll be directed to the ADP Vantage HCM welcome page. And from the welcome page, you'll click the Register Here button below First Time User. Review the terms and conditions and select I agree. You'll then be prompted to enter the registration code, which is FSRPROD-ADP, and then you'll select Go. Verify your identity by selecting the last 4 digits of SSN radio button and enter the last 4 digits of your Social Security number, as well as your birth month and day. After you confirm your Social Security number and date of birth, click Register Now. Create a password and enter the answers to the security questions that you select. Next, a Terms and Conditions screen will appear. Click Register Now. And you've now completed the activation and registration steps and will now be able to log into the system. So congratulations. A quick note on data protection and confidentiality. ADP and FirstService Residential are committed to protecting your privacy. If you feel that your personal information may have been compromised, please call the ADP Help Desk at the numbers you see on the screen. When accessing ADP Vantage HCM, you will see 2 login choices, User Login and Admin Login. To access personal information, all associates will log in as User. To perform administrative tasks, managers will use the Admin Login option, which requires administrator access to the system. While logged in as admin, you'll also have access to your personal information. After 15 minutes of inactivity within the system, you will be prompted that your session will time out unless you click the return button. When you log into the system, you'll see in the upper right corner that you have access to preferences and support information. Additionally, you'll exit the system by selecting Log Out. For privacy and security purposes, please close your browser window upon logging out. After your initial registration and login, select Preferences and to make sure you complete your contact information, including email address and phone number, in the Communications tab. The completion of this information drives system notifications and completes your password validation for security purposes. Select Support to access Contact Support and the Resource Center. The Resource Center is a repository for additional training materials and frequently asked questions. Now in Vantage, the menu bar is divided into two sections, menus and icons. Starting with the Message Center icon, each associate has access to their own integrated Message Center where they can view HR, benefits, time, and workflow messages. Associates can view details, respond to messages, and archive messages. Now, one thing to note is that you cannot delete messages here, but you can archive completed messages so that they are no longer displayed. Message Center types are urgent tasks, urgent notifications, and notifications. To view a message summary, click on the subject. The action icon provides links to review full message details, view activity history, and to respond to the message. Additionally, you'll have access to a calendar, and selecting the calendar icon allows you to view a calendar by day, week, month, or date range. Important payroll dates are stored on the calendar, such as pay period end date and pay date. Selecting the My Profile icon allows you to view your basic information in a snapshot, much like a business card. You'll also find icon buttons in Vantage HCM. For example, the green plus sign button is the Add button, and this button enables you to add a record. The red minus sign button is the Delete button, and this button enables you to remove a record. The green greater than sign button is the Action button, and it enables you to view additional activities or options. And what I feel is the most important, the blue question mark symbol button is the Help button. And the Help button enables you to view online help, which provides step-by-step instructions on how to complete the various tasks within the system. Now, depending on your role, you may or may not have access to all of the menus. As an associate, you'll have access to the Home menu, the My Company menu, and the Myself menu. As a manager or supervisor, you'll also have access to all of the menus that an associate has. Additionally, you'll have access to the My Team menu. So let's first talk a little bit about the home page. When you click on the Home menu, you'll access the home page. And the home page houses company information and quick links to other menus and tasks. Now, one point that I would like to reference is on the right-hand side of the home page, you'll find support and training information, which includes links to the help desk, it includes the phone numbers to the help desks, and it includes hours of operation. When you select the My Company menu, you'll access the My Company page. And the My Company page provides access to policies, procedures, forms, and resources. Now, as an associate, you have access only to your information and may make certain types of changes to your information. Some types of changes, such as direct deposit change or a change in the number of exemptions for your withholding, affect your payroll. While associates don't have any involvement in the actual payroll processing, it is important to understand that there's a cutoff date for changes, and based on when you entered the change, whether or not it will affect your next check. While changes may be made at any time, changes entered during the processing period may not take effect during the current period. The payroll processing period is typically Monday through Wednesday of the pay week. It is highly recommended that you don't make any changes during the processing period. Changes entered during the processing period that don't take effect for the current pay period should take effect the following pay period. However, if the information you entered doesn't take effect the following pay period, please call the ADP Help Desk, and remember the Help Desk numbers are listed on the Vantage homepage. When you select the Myself menu, you'll access the Myself page. The Myself page provides access to activities associated with your role as an associate in sections such as personal information, time and attendance, career and training, and money. Let's take a quick look at each of these sections. In the personal information section, you can access your Express profile, where you can view your personal profile, your emergency contacts, where you can add, change, or update your emergency contacts, and your personal information, where you can add, change, or update your home address, mailing address, email address, and phone number. In time and attendance, you'll have access to your inbox, where you can review tasks and or messages, and to the time workspace, where you can access your time card. And in career and training, you can search for other opportunities within the company. In the Money section, you have access to view your pay statements and adjustments. If you select the Help button while in Pay Statements, the Help box will appear. If you select the Quick Reference Card link, you'll be directed to additional information about your pay statements, including how to view your pay statements, how to stop receiving paper pay statements, how to enable or disable email pay statement notification, and how to print pay statements. You also have access to your own direct deposit information. If you select the Help button while in direct deposit, the Help box will appear to provide you with instructions for adding, changing, or removing a direct deposit account. Anytime you add a new direct deposit or make a change to the transit or account numbers, your direct deposit will pre-note for one pay period, meaning the direct deposit information is sent to the bank for verification before it takes effect. Anytime you make an addition or change to your direct deposit information, make sure to double-check your entry for accuracy. If you misenter or miskey the account type, transit, or account number, your direct deposit request will be rejected upon pre-note. Now, you also have access to other activities from the Money section, including access to calculators, access to view your existing deductions, access to your compensation history, access to your tax withholding, which is where you can make changes to your existing withholding elections, and, in the future, access to your W-2 statements. Just a couple of tips to mention to you. While in any menu, activity, or task, use the Help button if you need additional assistance. Always click on Home to return to your main screen. Don't use the back arrow icon from your browser, as it will return you to the login page and you may lose any information you've input without saving. Always remember to save or submit your changes so they can take effect when payroll runs, or you can cancel or reset your changes before saving, and none of the changes will take effect. Starting Wednesday, March 18th, all associates will be invited to register to Vantage, and instructions will be provided. Your first pay period will be from March 21st through April 3rd, with your first pay date being April 10th. One of the features of ADP Vantage HCM is that, should you forget your password or get locked out of the system, you have the ability to reset your own password. So now we're going to summarize the introduction to ADP Vantage HCM and Associate Self-Service. You were introduced to logging into and out of the application. We reviewed the menus and icons, as well as the associate role in self-service, and you should now be able to fully utilize the Home, My Company, and Myself menus. Again, we will open the session for questions and answers at the end, so please hold your questions. However, if you do have a question that you'd like to type in, I will be sure to answer it as soon as we get to the Q&A part. So let's move on to time and attendance. By the end of the time and attendance session, you should be able to understand time card roles and responsibilities assigned both to associates and managers, understand as an associate how to timestamp request PTO and how and when to approve your time card, and understand as a manager how and when to approve your associate's time card, how to make changes to an associate's time card, and, if for future reference, how to delegate a task. So we'll be covering how to timestamp, request PTO, and approve your time card. And then we'll be discussing the manager activities associated with the time cards. As a non-exempt or hourly associate, it is your associate's responsibility to clock in and clock out every day. And this is also referred to as timestamping in the Vantage system. Upon logging into Vantage Self-Service, your associates will go to the Time workspace located in the Myself menu. In the Time workspace, under the Timestamp tab, the associate will click Record Timestamp to record the punch. Upon clicking Record Timestamp, a recorded time message will appear, and the associate will repeat these steps each time he or she needs to punch in or punch out. And by selecting the Time Workspace tab, the associate will be taken directly into his or her time card, where he or she may add pay codes and comments. And that concludes how your associates timestamp in and out. So let's move on to requesting PTO. And PTO, or paid time off, is synonymous with any other verbiage that you might currently use, including vacation time, sick time, requested time off, any type of verbiage like that. So it all rolls up to PTO. So to request paid time off, select Time Workspace, located in the Myself menu. The task of requesting PTO is going to be the same for hourly associates as it is for salaried associates. The only difference a salaried associate will notice is the way that your time card appears. All exempt associates are set up with what is called a Project View time card. Associates with a Project View time card have hours pre-populated in the time card. Therefore, exempt associates will not timestamp. Your time card will appear for the current pay period. Click and drag My Calendar from the right side of the time card and drop it anywhere in your time card workspace. Now you may also view your accruals by clicking, dragging, and dropping My Accruals onto the time card workspace. Click the Calendar button and you can select your PTO day or range of days. Click the Request Time Off button and the Request Time Off box will appear. If you'd like to see your future accrual balances, change the Accruals on Date. To request your time off, enter the start and end dates, pay code, regular start time, and hours per day, and then click Submit. Upon submission of your PTO request, an email notification will be sent to your immediate manager, and your PTO request will appear in your calendar. Upon your manager's approval or rejection, you will also receive an email notification. You can also view the status of your request in My Calendar by selecting your range of requested dates. When you hover over a requested date, a pop-up box with more details will appear. If you click on a requested date, a pop-up box with the words Details and Retract or Cancel will appear. Click on Details to see your time-off request details. If you need to modify or cancel your request, you can retract or cancel it. Retraction should be used before the request has been approved by the manager, and cancel should be used after the request has been approved. And once the cancellation is approved by the manager, it will be removed from the time card. At the end of the pay period, your time card should be approved. Your approval of the time card is the verification that your time card is accurate. Note that you can approve your time card at any time, not only at the end of the pay period. For example, if your last working day of the pay period is Thursday, you can approve your time card after your final timestamp out on Thursday. In this case, if you're still in the current pay period, you are still in the current pay period. Now, if you wait until Monday morning to approve your time card, remember to change the time period. You'll access your time card from the Myself menu, Time Workspace, select the Approve button to approve the time card, and then upon approving your time card, you'll see your approval above your time card. Just like non-exempt or hourly associates, at the end of the pay period, exempt or salaried associates should also approve their time card. So far in time cards, we were introduced to associate time stamping and when and how often an associate should timestamp. We were also introduced to requesting paid time off and how an accepted or denied request will appear on the time card. And lastly, you learned how to approve your time card. And now you should have the tools you need to be able to successfully and timely timestamp, request PTO, and approve the time card. At this point, we are going to move on to manager activities. Now, up to this point, all associates have been introduced to the same exact information in terms of associate self-service and time cards. Only managers and supervisors will have access to the following information. So in this part of the training, we'll be covering the manager activities, which include approving and or denying a PTO request, approving your associate's time cards, removing an approval, making changes to the time card, and for future reference, how to delegate time card approval. So let's say you've received a message advising you that your associate has requested time off. You're now ready to review the PTO request to either approve or deny it. So from the My Team menu, access Daily Tasks under Time and Attendance. Upon login to Daily Tasks, you'll see the Request Manager tab. Again, note that Vantage will default to current pay period with the filter set to Submitted Requests, which means you'll only see requests submitted in the current pay period. To review different criteria, you can select a different pay period range or enter a range of dates. Click on the Status button to see other requests. In this example, All Statuses is selected in order to see all types of requests, those that have been approved, canceled, those that are pending, etc. By changing the Status button to All Statuses, we now see all of the PTO requests that have been submitted. So continuing on with this example, select the associate with the submitted status and click the button for the action you'd like to take. The action buttons are Details, which shows details for the request, Edit, which opens a dialog box allowing you to edit the request by entering comments, Approve, which approves the request, Refuse, refuses the request, Pending, pens the request for later action, Retract, which allows you to retract a request on behalf of an associate, and Request Time Off, which also allows you to request PTO on behalf of an associate. Continuing on with the example, we'll approve this request by selecting the Approve button, which prompts the Approve Time Off box to appear. For an approval, you may add comments which aren't required by selecting TOR Approved from the drop-down box and entering your comments in the comment field. Click Approve to complete the PTO approval process. To reject the PTO request, follow the same steps and select TOR Refused in the drop-down. Upon approval or rejection, your associate will receive an auto-generated email with the action you took. If your associate cancels a PTO request, you must approve the cancellation in order for the time to be removed from his or her time card. One of your management responsibilities is to approve your associate's time card each pay period. Access the time card approval page from quick links under Time and Attendance. The default view is to show all home. However, you can change to show any other of the drop-downs that you see on the screen. Make sure the time period view is the time period for which you need to approve. Select the associate or associates you need to approve time for by clicking on his or her name and select Yes when prompted to approve. Now, just as a note, you are able to approve time cards on a daily, weekly, or biweekly basis. However, if you approve time cards more frequently than biweekly, make sure you only approve days that are 100% complete. Once you approve that day, no one can timestamp into that day. For example, if you have associates working the weekend shift and you approve the whole pay period on Friday evening, those associates working the weekend shift will be unable to make any time punches Saturday or Sunday. Now, if you need to make changes to an associate's time card after you have already approved it, you may do so by removing your approval. Please know, though, that approvals cannot be removed once the time file has been pulled by payroll for processing. From the time card approval screen, you'll select Approvals, Remove Approval, and select Yes. If an associate has a missed punch or a change needs to be made to the time card, you can change it for him or her by viewing the time card from the time card approval page, and a missed punch will be highlighted in red. Once you've made the missed punch correction, navigate back to the time card approval page to ensure the correction was saved. There will also be instances where you will need to add or edit punches for your direct reports. Once you are in an associate's time card, click in the box of the punch that you want to change, type in the desired value, and save the time card. You also have the ability to add additional earnings to an associate's time card. From the associate's time card, select the date on which the associate performed the additional duty and choose the appropriate pay code from the drop-down list in the pay code column. Now, in the future, as a manager with direct reports, it will be a function called Delegate Approvals will be available So if there is an instance where you are or will be unable to perform the responsibility of approving your associates' time cards, you will have the option to delegate your approval to another manager. And to do this, from the My Team menu, you'll select Delegate Approvals under Setup. The Delegate Approvals page allows you to define alternative approval personnel if you are out of the office or unable to process approvals for an extended period of time. And you can add, change, or delete approval delegations that you have defined. So to add a delegation, you'll click the Add button and select the Manager Time Off activity. Select the delegation type, either by number of days or date range, and select to whom you want to assign the activity. Your options will be one level up, work group, or specific user. Click Done to complete the delegation. So at this point, managers and supervisors, you have been introduced to your associates' time card responsibilities. Additionally, you were introduced to your responsibilities as a manager to ensure your associates are paid correctly and timely. You were also shown how to delegate approvals. By now, you should be able to approve your associates' PTO requests and time card, remove an approval, and make any necessary changes to the time card. And that concludes the scripted portion of this training session. I'm going to put everyone on hold for just a moment while I change presentership to Vanessa De La Rosa. She is going to walk us through an on-screen demonstration of the Vantage test environment. Now, one thing I would like everyone to keep in mind is that in the Vantage test environment, it will look a little bit different than what you see in the actual Vantage production, what we call the production environment, which is where everything is actually live. So we may have some options that we discussed in training that aren't available to us in the test environment, but do know that those options are available in the production environment. So at this point, if you'll give us just a minute or two, we'll get the presentership changed over and we'll get started with the hands-on demonstration. Okay, at this point, everyone should have visibility to Vanessa's screen where you should see the Welcome to ADP Vantage HCM window. If someone or a couple of people would please raise your hand to ensure that you can see the Welcome to ADP Vantage window, I would appreciate it. Great, we've got some raised hands, so looks like everything's good to go. Vanessa will be doing the navigation and I will be doing the speaking. So Vanessa, at this point, we are assuming that we've all logged in or registered, and Vanessa has just entered her login credentials for a test associate. And when you first log in as an associate, you'll be directed to the home page. And so you can see under the home page, you'll have access to company news, company information. Additionally, again, I want to point out on the right-hand side of the screen, you have access to the ADP Vantage HCM support and training information, including hours of operation, email address, and phone numbers. And we hope that you will all reference this often. The ADP Vantage HCM Support and Training Help Desk are here to assist in any way we possibly can. So please call on the help desk anytime you have a need. All right, next we're going to take a look at My Company. And in My Company, again, in the test environment, we don't really have anything to show because nothing has been loaded, but future state and in a production environment, we will have access to company policies that will be rolled out. Any policy that's rolled out company-wide will be housed here. We will receive notification to come to the company policies section of the My Company page and access the policy, review it, and provide an electronic signature. We'll also have access to frequently asked questions. Eventually, we will have a repository for forms and additional resources. So those are all things to look forward to. And now let's take a look at Myself. So in the Myself menu, we talked about the Express Profile. So Vanessa, if you'll just select Express Profile, let's let everyone see what that looks like. Basically what this is just a snapshot of your personal profile, or could be your associate's personal profile if you're a manager or a supervisor. And scroll down a little bit more, Vanessa, please. So you can see you also have access to the job information, compensation, etc. And when you click on those links, it immediately goes into a snapshot of that particular associate, or if it is you that you're looking at, then you will have access to your own personal information here. Great, thank you, Vanessa. Let's take a look at emergency contacts. So in emergency contacts, this is where, as an associate, we should all go in and update our own associate self-service with at least one emergency contact. Now, as we walk through this, please note that any field that you see that has an asterisk next to it, and in this case, in this window, that would be his first name, last name, and relationship, those fields are required. You will not be able to save or mark this section done until you have completed those fields. And Vanessa's just typing in some information. Perfect. And click Done. And now you can see that that information has appeared in this associate's emergency contacts. Now let's go take a look at personal information. And in personal information, this is where the associate, including us, can update the home address, can update telephone number, email address, mailing address, etc. So this is where we'll go in to make those types of changes, and this is all part of associate self-service. Wonderful. Now, one thing that I did want to point out is that you see in, let's go back over to the, let's see, regulatory, yes, this is fine in regulatory. You'll see next to birth date that there are X's there. That means that that field is masked, and there are certain fields within Vantage that, due to security and privacy and confidentiality, those fields are masked, and only certain associates with high-level security access will be able to reveal that information. Now, as an associate, I will always be able to reveal my own information just in case I forget my birth date. I could reveal that information to see what my own birth date is. But I wanted to point that out to you all just so that you'll know that there is quite a bit of security and protection in this system. So we just want to point that out so that everyone feels comfortable with their personal information. Two of the other things that will be masked are your Social Security number. We've seen the date of birth is masked, and your direct deposit information will be masked as well. All right, let's move on to time and attendance. I'm sorry, let's go to money first. We'll do time and attendance next. So in money, let's pull up pay statements, please, Vanessa. All right, now, remember this is the test environment, and our test associate, unfortunately, doesn't have any pay statements. But this was where you would find your pay statements in the actual production environment once your pay statements are initiated, which, again, your first pay date will be April the 10th. So beginning with that pay date, you'll be able to come in here and access your own pay statements. All right, while we're here, Vanessa, though, if you would go to the blue question mark, remember everyone I said this was the help button. And, excuse me, as I mentioned in the training section, when you access the help button, especially here in pay statements, it gives you additional information on viewing your pay statement, on enabling or disabling email notifications. You can stop receiving paper pay statements. You can restart your paper pay statements, and it provides you information on how to print your pay statements. So all of that information is available at your fingertips. Great. Thank you, Vanessa. Let's go take a look at direct deposit. Now remember, we said that you have access to your own direct deposit information. So in our test associate, we have no direct deposit. So Vanessa is going to go ahead and set up a direct deposit to a checking account. And then let's set up another direct deposit, Vanessa, to a savings account. And so you can see while Vanessa is typing that in this example, she has chosen to have $100 of her net pay deposited into her checking account and the balance of the net pay deposited into her savings account. So at this point, you may have, I believe you are allowed up to 10 direct deposits, if I'm not mistaken. And you can have as much of your net check deposited into as many accounts, up to 10, as you like. So you have options and opportunities there. Great. So let's save that, Vanessa. And now, if we just wanted to make a change, we could go into one of the deposit amounts. Let's say we wanted to change the deposit amount from $100 to $200. It's as simple as just making the change and selecting Save. And in this environment, unfortunately, we are unable to save because our transit number is not correct. It's a phony. So, but at least you have the idea of what we're talking about. Great, thanks, Vanessa. Now, let's also go back to money and go to calculators. Perfect. And in calculators, you will have access to paycheck calculators, to a gross pay calculator, 401k planner calculators, and W-4 assistant calculators. So these are all great calculators to help you determine what you can or cannot afford to put in 401k if you decide to do that, which we all hope you will. If you want to change your W-4 withholding, either your marital status or your number of exemptions, you can calculate your pay or calculate your check. If you're expecting a hefty pay and increase and you want to see what your net pay is going to look like, you can come into salary or hourly paycheck and type in your new hourly or salary amount and get a new net pay. So this is a lot of fun to play around with. Great. The last thing I want to take a look at is tax withholding, please, Vanessa. And in tax withholding, scroll back up for 1 second, please. You can see that you have access to both federal and state. So you'll be accessing all of your tax withholding information right here. So starting with federal, you can come in and update your marital status. So if you're currently married and for some reason you decide you want to be single now, you can change it to single. If your number of allowances or exemptions is currently 1 or 0 or whatever, you can come in and make that change. You can add an additional amount that you want withheld to go towards your federal income taxes here. Of course, you'll agree to the terms and conditions, and once you've done that, you'll save it, and then that will take effect in the next payroll processing period. Now, the nice thing about this, including your direct deposit, is that this is all associate self-service. This is self-maintenance. So you can make as many changes as you want to your information as you want to. So you no longer have to fill out any pieces of paper. No one else has to know how much you want deposited into an account, or if you want to claim 9 exemptions, or if you want to change your marital status. No one else needs to know. Great. Thank you, Vanessa. At this point, we are ready to log out as an associate, and we are going to log back in as a supervisor manager. So let's give Vanessa 1 moment. Oh, I'm sorry, Vanessa. I'm sorry, Vanessa did bring up a good point. We forgot to look at time cards. So let's go take a look at time and attendance. And again, at this point, I just want all managers and supervisors to understand the associate role. So when an associate logs into timestamp, when they log into their time card, this is exactly what they're going to see is record timestamp. When they click record timestamp, it's going to give them the recorded timestamp message, including the time that they stamped. And it's that simple. Great, Vanessa. Let's go to the time workspace. Perfect. Now in the time workspace, this is where we can come to add a pay code. If we just pick a date, Vanessa, let's pick a pay code and add some additional earnings if there are any pay codes out there in the test environment. Oh, Vanessa's just informed me we don't have any, but this is where you would do it. So you would select from the drop-down box a pay code, and then if it's an hour or a dollar amount, you'll type in the dollar amount associated with that pay code. Now, in this case, our associate has missed a punch, but we are not going to fix it here because we are still logged in as an associate. And in order to fix this punch, we need to be logged in as a manager. All right, Vanessa? And at this point, let's also request a PTO or a time off request. Perfect. So you can see Vanessa clicked and dragged the My Calendar from the right-hand side of the time card into the time card workspace. And now Vanessa is just going to select Request Time Off. She's going to select the type of time off. She's going to put the start date and the end date in, select her pay code, which in this case in the test environment we only have access to a limited number of them. The start time is the start time of the scheduled period for the associate. And remember that the length is the length per day that you'd like to be paid in PTO. And again, hourly associates and salaried associates will all request PTO this way, the same way. Now, Vanessa can submit, or she can go up and request an additional time off request. So let's go back to request time off, Vanessa. So if she's in request time off, she can select add another time off period. Great. And then before she submits, she can click the plus sign to add another time off period. And now she can continue with any other vacation requests that she might have. Perfect. And then when she's done, she'll submit it. And that submission will send an email to that associate's immediate manager or supervisor for approval. Great. And Vanessa, unless you can think of anything else to show at the associate level, I think we're ready to log out and log back in as a supervisor, correct? Great. So let's give her 1 second. All right, so now that Vanessa has logged back in as a manager or supervisor, you'll see that she has access to one more menu called My Team. And if you'll notice in My Team, under Personal Information, she has the same exact information as an associate has under the Myself menu. Now, in addition to the personal information, she has access to a few more pieces of information in time and attendance, but she also has access to some history, some reports. Job activities is going to be training held at a future time, hopefully sometime in the near future. Employment, recruiting, and setup. Again, those will be things that you will have access to in the near future. We've discussed delegating approvals, which is under setup. We are not going to show a demo on that because that is not currently working in UAT, in the test environment. But I did want you to be aware of it so that when that feature is made available, you'll at least have some visibility to it. So right now in My Team, I think we are ready to take a look at some time cards. So Vanessa's starting out by going to quick links. Now, one thing I do want to make everyone aware of is, just like any other system, there are multiple ways to perform an individual task, multiple ways to get to the same screen. So the way that Vanessa is showing you today, when you get into the system and start playing around, you might find another way to access the same information. There is no right or wrong way. It just depends on personal preference at this point. So now Vanessa is going to the timesheet, the associate's timesheet. And at this point, what we're going to do is get ready to, I think we're approving PTO, correct, Vanessa? Okay, Vanessa's first going to log into the timesheet just to show you the view. All right, so again, for our manager, our one manager has one associate. Otherwise, you would see all of your direct reports in that list. So for our manager with our one associate, remember when we were looking at the associate's time card, we saw the red box, and that meant that there was a missed punch. So now logged in as the supervisor can see the same missed punch. Now the supervisor has to fix that punch. So just like you see Vanessa doing, she's populating it with the correct time, and she saves it, and she no longer has a missed punch in this time card. And now Vanessa is showing you the audit, so you can audit the time card and see exactly what happened and when. So another nice feature of the system. Now, if you had to go in and change an associate's time, so Vanessa, let's just click on any one of those in or out punches and just change it to something else. Perfect. It's that simple to change an associate's time. So that's all you have to do to make a change. And then you save it, and then that record is corrected. Great. All right. So now I believe we're going to take a look at the time off request, and we are going to choose whether to approve it or deny it. Great. So we've got a couple of requests out here. And let's go ahead and select, well, we're going to be nice, and we're going to approve the request. So Vanessa double-clicked on the associate's name, and she's reviewing the time off request details. If she believes that's okay to approve, she's going to close the box and click Approve. At this point, she can select the comment of TOR approved and type in comments, but again, that is not required. Perfect, and that's how you approve a PTO request. Okay, Vanessa's going to actually take some action on this one that has been pre-approved. So she's closing that out after reviewing it, and now she is going to refuse it. Okay, and now we can see we have no activities. Perfect. So Vanessa is now clicking on all statuses like we saw in the scripted part of the presentation, where you can see every single status: approved, refused, pending, etc. So that's perfect, Vanessa. Great. Thank you very much for that demonstration. So at this point, I think we are ready to approve an associate's time card. So we go to My Team. In Time and Attendance, we go to Time Card Approval. And in our case, we only have one associate to approve, so this makes it nice and easy. We see that there are no missed in punches. So at this point, we are ready to approve the time card. And as you saw, Vanessa double-clicked the associate's name so she could actually see the entire timesheet to make sure that there were no issues. She sees the PTO request. Perfect. Now, at this point, we would see the button to approve the associate's time card at the top of the screen. Back it up one, please, Vanessa, back to approve time cards. With the scripted presentation at the top next to actions, punch, amount, accruals, and schedules, we saw that there was also an approve button, that when we clicked the action arrow, it allowed us to either approve or remove an approval. Now in this case, in the test environment, we don't have the ability to approve or remove an approval from a time card, but this is where you would see it, and I just wanted to bring that to everyone's attention. And then Vanessa was going to show you just a quick tutorial on running the pre-populated reports that are available to you. So this is on the timesheet level, and these are the timesheet reports that you have available, and you can select to run these reports at any time. Great. So once you select the report, you review the information. If all of the information is what you want, you select Run Report. And as you can see the status, we are waiting. It does sometimes take a little while to run a report, so please bear that in mind. And then once this report becomes available, we can view it. All right, Vanessa, at this point, I don't think we're going to wait for the report to become available. It's already 6 o'clock, and we need to pass the call along to Candy at Transamerica, so we've got enough time for her to be able to go through her presentation. So I'd like to thank Vanessa for actually manning the demonstration for me. Vanessa, if you'll transfer presentership over to Candy, please. All right. And at this point, Candy, wonderful. So what I'd like everyone to do is just take a quick second to raise your hand to ensure that you can see the Transamerica presentation. Great, we've got some hands raised. So everyone, I would like to introduce you to Candy Eiler with Transamerica. And as I said at the beginning of the presentation, Candy is going to run through your 401k options, why it's important to join the plan, how it could benefit you in your future. And so I hope everyone enjoys the presentation. Candy, it's all yours.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. As was mentioned, my name's Candy. I'm with Transamerica Retirement Solutions, and we're going to cover a few different things with your retirement plan. During the course of our time together, we'll look at your basic provisions. What does it mean to be eligible for the plan? We'll look at reasons why you should contribute. We'll look at some factors regarding how just a few dollars a paycheck really does make a big difference over time, and why getting started sooner than later really will be a big investment for you when you're ready to retire. Towards the middle and into the end of the presentation, we'll talk about the conversion process. So as your monies are transferring from your old retirement plan into the new, what are some dates and some things that you'll look at? And then we'll wrap things up at the end talking about the different investment options. So let's go ahead and we'll just jump right into the session here. Well, no doubt over the last few years, things have been quite crazy when it comes to the markets. And if I were to ask you to kind of give me some idea how you were feeling, you may resonate with one or two of the words that came across the screen. Well, whether you've been excited or hopeful or anxious, my hope through the session today is to give you some comfort to know that you truly hold the keys to what your own retirement futures look like. And if you're in the same generation of me, being in your 40s, you've grown up in a generation where the old pension plans aren't a benefit to you anymore, where maybe they were for your parents and grandparents, where they stayed at a company for 20 or 30 years and were promised a paycheck for the rest of their lives. Well, those plans are going away because they're horribly expensive. So then the ownership of what retirement looks like truly falls onto us. During the course of this time, we'll look at why you should put money aside in your own plan. And when you do that, there are two additional sources that are going to support you. The company employer is committed to making a match to you. That match is when you contribute 6% of your annual compensation, they will contribute into the plan 2.4%. So everyone, if you can possibly do it, try to do at least 6% to get that full employer match. You'll also receive some benefit from the federal government. To get a really clear idea of what that benefit looks like, I will encourage all of you to log on to the SSA.gov website. That's the Social Security website. You'll ask to create an account, and when you're in there, you'll be able to see what it would look like if you retire as early as 62, or if you waited for your full retirement, which for most folks is 66 or 67. So just log in there. It doesn't mean that you're going to be receiving your benefits right away. It just gives you a clear idea of what would your Social Security benefits look like based upon the times in which you're going to retire. Well, the thing that I love about retirement plans is that it's very easy. The money comes out of my paycheck before I see it. So if I don't see it, I don't spend it. This becomes the true forced savings plan. And for most of us behind our homes, our retirement accounts are our single largest assets. And a lot of that is due in part that it's an automatic savings vehicle. Towards the end of the conversation I mentioned, we'll talk about the different fund options. The way that your plan is designed is that if you want a managed approach, you have a managed investment lineup that's specifically tailored for you, and that's managed by the J.P. Morgan Company, and we'll talk about that in a little bit more. And note that you're going to have a lot of support. So if down the road you have questions on rollovers or what the basic provisions of your plan are, maybe you've even forgotten your PIN number, you're going to have some support from Transamerica to give you some guidance along the way. Well, let's start by talking about taxes. One of the traditional benefits with retirement plans is that the money goes in before you pay federal income taxes. So let's say, for example, your annual compensation is $35,000 a year, and you put in 5% of your pay. That is a $1,750 annual contribution set aside for your retirement. What you report on your income taxes isn't $35,000, but $33,250, because in this example, with pre-tax, the money goes in before you pay federal or state income taxes. And then that money has the opportunity to grow for you without you paying taxes all those years until you're ready to retire. One of the great benefits of this, as I said, is that you're not having to deal with those dividend or interest payments, reporting that as income today, because again, that's all deferred until you take the money out. So if you've been waiting to pay to file your taxes, no need to worry, because the only time that you'd need anything from your retirement plan providers is if you actually took a distribution and you received a 1099 distribution. There's also a second benefit when it comes to putting money into the plan. You can either do it pre-tax. Again, pre-tax, you put the money in today, you get the tax benefit today, and then those monies grow without you paying taxes on them. And then you pay taxes on the amount you put in, plus the growth when you're ready to retire. The second option is Roth, where you say, I'm going to log in my tax rate today. So I'm going to pay taxes at my tax rate that I'm at today, knowing then that the money that I put in plus all of its growth is 100% tax-free. Rule of thumb when I'm talking with participants is that if you're just starting out in your careers, if you're under 30, Roth makes a lot of sense for a lot of people. As I said, you're just starting out in your career, and you are typically in a little lower tax bracket, so this will allow you to lock in those lowest tax rates and know that you'll have 40 years of tax-free growth. If you're closer to retirement and maybe all of your years you've contributed on a pre-tax basis, Roth is a nice way to balance out what those distributions look like later. At the end of the day, always consult with your CPA or financial support there to get an idea of what's the best route to go for you. And you can always look on the Transamerica website where there's a calculator that will give you an idea whether you're better to go pre-tax or Roth based upon your own financial situation. Another feature that very few people have heard about is the tax savers credit. Now, a credit is better than a deduction, because basically what a credit does is it's like a rebate. So let's say, for example, you purchased a new set of headphones that had a $10 rebate. You basically mail in the information that you need to or go online and fill out the rebate information, and you receive that $10 back. Depending upon what your adjusted gross income is, and if you fall into one of the categories across the bottom of the page, you could potentially get 10, 20, or even 50% back on the first $2,000 that you contribute, with a maximum of $1,000 rebate back on your income taxes. So this is a huge benefit based upon what your income is in getting monies back from the federal government, because even the government knows that for most of us, again, the only way we're going to get to retire in the manner that we want to is by contributing on our own behalf. Well, there's a lot of things that get in the way when we start thinking about retirement. sometimes we'll say, you know what, we're literally living paycheck to paycheck. How can I even afford $5, going into the plan? Or this whole process seems so complicated. I get this huge packet of information, and how am I supposed to understand the difference between stocks and bonds? Or maybe you said, my concern is that my money is locked up for 20 years. What if an emergency arises and I need to get access to these monies? Or maybe you're saying next year, I've got some student loans or some things I need to pay off. I'll start in a year or two. Well, let's look at just how powerful it is even putting $25 a week into the plan. $25 a week, and we put it in our example on a pre-tax basis with a 6% return growth. In 10 years, your $25 a week is over $17,000. Look at what happens in 25 years. Look at in 35 years, your $25 a week contribution is nearly $150,000. And my guess is that every single one of us could figure out how to budget with an extra $150,000 when it comes to retirement. So you can see, even a little makes a big difference. And then remember, the company contribution is on top of that. So when you're thinking about whether this is a good opportunity for you to start contributing or not, things that you might want to consider is you only need to be at least age 21 to contribute, and you need to be with the company for 3 months. And you can start contributing the first of the month of any month. So you have a lot of flexibility. You can increase or decrease the contributions anytime you want, and you can stop contributing anytime that you want. And you can contribute up to the IRS dollar maximum as long as you don't exceed 75% of your compensation. So if you can, again, try to do at least what the company matches. If you put in 6%, they're going to give you 2.4%. Even if you put less than 6% in, no, they're still going to match you. And the way your matching formula is they will match you 40% up to the first 6%. So let's say, for example, you put 3% of your compensation into the plan. They will then give you 1.2% of your gross annual compensation every year into the plan. So if you can, try to do the match. Throughout your career, we're seeing that a lot of people are successful at retirement if you can do about 10 to 12% of your annual compensation every year, up to the IRS maximums. And the IRS maximums have gone up for 2015, so you can put in up to $18,000 if you're under the age of 50, and up to $24,000 if you're over the age of 50. As I said, start somewhere where you're comfortable and then make a commitment to increasing your contributions over time. And you can get that set up right on your website. We have a cool tool called our Auto Increase service, which basically says every year on a designated date that you determine, you can have payroll automatically increase your contributions by 1 or 2%, whatever you want, until you reach a specific maximum. This allows you to put that contribution rate on autopilot so that over time you are paying yourself first and you're getting a little additional money into the plan every year. Well, why should you get started sooner than later? You know, I have 2 little boys. My boys are 6 and 8 now, and we've really encouraged them just to start figuring out what this whole idea of money is, and giving them some tools as early age as possible to say, you put money in your savings account and Daddy and I will match you. So they start realizing this whole concept at a very young age. Well, the story I'm going to share with you here is about Jack and Jill. Jill is age 21, and she starts saving $30 a week at age 21, and she only contributes for 14 years. So at age 35, she stops and doesn't put another penny in. Well, Jack is age 35. He contributes $30 a week, and instead of doing it for 14 years like Jill did, he contributes for 30 years until age 65. Well, take a look to see who do you think would have more money when they're ready to retire. And if your thought is it's probably Jill because her tree is bigger, you're absolutely correct. Because even just for 14 years, Jill contributed a little over $21,000 into the plan and ended up with $193,000. Jack, who contributed for twice as long, contributed twice as much money, ended up with nearly $67,000 left. So this is the power of getting started sooner than later. Great lessons to teach your children, grandchildren, your nieces and nephews. starting a little savings account for them, doing anything to get them start thinking about the power of savings at a really young age. I mean, they say the optimal age to start teaching your children about retirement savings is 5 and 6. Start teaching them about the power of just a little savings account. Well, if you're concerned that if something comes up and you need to get access to these dollars, you have a number of different provisions to do that. So I'd like to start with the loan provision. Your plan does have a loan provision. You have the ability to take 2 loans out at a time where you pay yourself back the interest over time. If for some reason you've exhausted both of your loan provisions and you need to still get at monies in your plan, you can utilize the hardship provision. Now, hardships are very specific and they're dictated by the IRS. And they're for situations such as to prevent eviction or foreclosure of your primary residence, for catastrophic events, funeral expenses, post-secondary education. I mean, hardships really are what their title is, and that you can't contribute for 6 months after you initiate the hardship. And then that means the company is not contributing for 6 months either. And that money comes out, you pay taxes, and if you're younger than 59 and a half, you pay a 10% penalty, and you will never be able to pay those dollars back. So be very cautious if you find yourself in a position and you're utilizing the hardship provision. Just realize all the different features that come along with it. The other thing is that if you leave, take your money with you. That's the beauty of retirement plans, is that they're very portable. So if you leave, take your money with you. On the flip side, if you've been at other places and you have money there that you want to roll in, know that you can do that at any time. Speaking of rollovers, we're in the process right now where we're working with your old plan provider to transfer over your monies from your prior provider into Transamerica. In June, you'll start to receive some notices with some very specific dates as to when you'll be able to make your last contribution into the old plan, any changes of any nature that you can make into the old plan, and then all of the assets that you have will be transferring to Transamerica as of July 1st. Well, what we'll be doing is with your April 10th, so your April 10th payroll will be your very first payroll contribution that will come to Transamerica. And you'll need to go onto the Transamerica website and initiate that process. So you'll need to set up a new deferral election and select your investments on the Transamerica website. And in a moment I'll show you what the website looks like so that you can go right online. But again, as of your April 10th payroll deferral, those new contributions will come to Transamerica, but you've got to go onto the website and initiate that process. And then all of your conversion dollars will come over in July. If you have an outstanding loan, please note that those loans will be transferred over. Going back to the loans that we talked about a couple slides before, you can have up to 2 loans at a time. You basically can borrow up to 50% of your vested interest in the plan with a minimum loan amount of $500. So as I said, your deferral amounts will not transfer over, nor will your investment elections. Just as equally important is your beneficiary designation. So your beneficiary designations will not transfer over to Transamerica. You'll need to log on to fsr.trsretire.com. This is a customized website for your organization specifically. Log on to the website and you'll be asked to create a username and password. All that you'll need to do that is your social security number, your birth date, and your zip code. Once you register into the site, it literally will take you through step by step to start your contributions and look at your investment options. The one thing that this site does not do is from that step by step, is it doesn't give you the opportunity to put your beneficiary designation in. And I'll show you here on the screen in just a few minutes where you'll go onto the website to do that, because it's a very important feature. All right, well, let's talk about the different investment options. There's really 3 different ways that you invest. It's either with cash or with bonds or stock. So the cash equivalent that you have within your plan is a stable value fund. Very similar to your money market savings account with a little bit greater investment return on it. It's rather liquid. The others are bonds. So with your bond investments, this is a borrowing and lending contract where you basically say, I will lend you $50, and if you lend your friend $50, your biggest fear is they don't pay you back. You lend your money to the federal government, you have a very good chance they're going to pay you back. But because they have a good chance they'll pay you back, they're going to borrow your money at a much lower interest rate versus a private investor who's going to build a hotel or a bridge or whatever it is that they're going to build. They do not have the backing of the federal government, so they'll borrow your money at a higher interest rate. Typically, as you get closer to retirement, you'll start to see a larger amount of your overall investments will start to lead more into the bonds because bonds historically tend to have more of a security to them. Within the stocks, stock is ownership in a single company. You put your money in ABC company and it goes up, you feel good. It goes down, you don't feel so good. But what you have are stock mutual funds, where basically you have a team or an individual who's managing maybe 500, 1,000, or 2,000 companies, and they're going out and researching and monitoring and managing them. So again, you have cash, you have bonds, you have stocks. If you're like me and you would prefer to just turn this over to someone else and let them manage it, you have your target date fund options, which are managed by the JP Morgan company. JP Morgan builds the target date funds for your platform. And basically what they do is they say, how old are you today? And at what year will you reach age 65? If you reach age 65 in the year 2055, that investment lineup will have a higher allocation to stock mutual funds than to bond mutual funds because you've got a long time before you're ready to retire. If your target date for retirement is 2020, you have a much shorter timeline, so you're going to have a higher allocation to bond mutual funds than stock mutual funds. Over your career, they will slowly make changes so that as you get closer to retirement, the stocks will decrease and the bonds will increase. If when you sign up and you elect to have money come out of your paycheck and you do not make an investment election, it will default or automatically go into the JP Morgan target date fund applicable to you. So when you're looking at your investments, when you log on to the main website, as you're seeing here on the left-hand side, this is a sample of what the website will look like. On the far left-hand side, you'll see a tab that says Home. In the toolbar, under Home is where you put in your beneficiary designation. So once you log on and you get through the step-by-step process, please log into the actual website, go under the Home tab on the left-hand side toolbar, and add in your beneficiary. We also have an app. So we have two apps, one of which you'll be able to track your investments. You'll be able to see your current allocations. And then towards the end of that second quarter of this year, you'll actually be able to make trades right on your smartphone app. We also have a smartphone app that will allow you to figure out how close you are to getting to your retirement goals. We also have this as a feature on our website, and it's called a Retirement Outlook tool. The whole idea here is how close are you to replacing your income at retirement? That's where everywhere in our industry is going to, is trying to give you tools to figure out how close you are to replacing your income during your retirement years. Obviously, if you log in and it says you have this beautiful sunny outlook, you would guess that you are getting very close, if not on track, to being able to replace your income at retirement. It will allow you to include any other retirement savings, include your significant other, and it will allow you to track and chart just how close you are to getting to your retirement goals. It's actually a really cool tool. And note that you've got support along the way. If you ever have questions, you want to consolidate assets, you've forgotten your password, any of those things, just give us a call and we're happy to give you some support with. So as we start to wrap things up, truly know that you hold the keys to what your own retirement futures look like. Start somewhere where you're comfortable when it comes to putting your investment dollars aside. If you can, try to do at least the 6%. Get at least all of the company matching that you can. And then periodically, if you can, increase your contributions or set up the auto increase feature. And then make sure that you are looking at the different features that you have within your plan. Play around with the Outlook tool. I think that you'll find it very helpful over time. We've worked with and we've seen that only 1 in 6 people have a written plan for when it comes to retirement. Start thinking about what it is that you want to do. I mean, it's crazy, but it's really true. I mean, we spend more time planning our annual vacation than we do the last 30 to 40 years of our lives. So start thinking about what retirement looks like and what that means to you so that you know what you're saving for. If you're getting close to retirement and you're looking for some additional support, we have certified financial advisors on staff that can help you figure out just how close you are and help you write an action plan to help you monitor and manage your assets throughout your retirement years. So that is a service, because you're part of the Transamerica plan now, that you have. You know, these are all certified financial planners. They all hold their designations. They've got great experience in credentialing, and none of these folks work on a commission. So these are all salaried individuals who they have your best interest at heart, especially if you're within 2 years of retirement. So it's making sure that you've got your budget set up, that you've figured out how you need to start transitioning your investments as you get closer to retirement. Well, you know, start looking at what your opportunities are within your plan. Make this as an opportunity that if you've never contributed before, start saving some monies aside for your retirement futures. You know, this is really a great opportunity to start thinking about it. If you are eligible, you know, all of your prior years of vesting, all of your service will all transfer over, so that's all going to be part of this plan. It's just a great opportunity to start rethinking things. So with that said, I'm going to turn it back over to Jane and Vanessa to kind of wrap things up for us.
Great. Thank you very much, Candy, for that wonderful presentation. Always good news, good information to have, especially when you're trying to plan your future financial stability. So very good. Thank you. At this point, I'm going to unmute all of the attendees and open the floor up to QA. Now, bad point about unmuting is that we will have a lot of feedback, or there's a potential for a lot of feedback and a lot of echoing, so I apologize for that. I do want to address the one written question that came in during the session, and that was, how will associates and managers handle already approved requests for time off that are not in Vantage? And that's a great question. The answer is that if those time off requests are for any time after March 21st, which is when you go live with Vantage, they will need to be re-entered or entered into Vantage in order for them to be processed with the April 10th pay period or with a subsequent pay period. So I apologize. I know that's double work, but that information does have to get into Vantage in order for it to be processed with payroll. So I hope that answered the question. Are there any other questions at this point? Any questions for Candy about 401k?
Why not? Are you muted us?
Candy, we'll just give it a couple of minutes, see if anyone has any last-minute question. Again, if you're not comfortable asking a question out loud, please feel free to type it, and I will respond to that question. And if there are no questions, then we can most definitely end the session. I will remain on the phone and in the webinar for the next couple of minutes. We'll get to the bottom of the half hour. About 6:28 right now. We're scheduled to go until 6:30. So we'll give it a couple more minutes. I want to thank Candy for her presentation and Vanessa for walking us through the on-screen demonstration. I appreciate both of you very much, and we are very grateful that you attended this afternoon's session. I hope that this was beneficial to you all. Again, if you have any questions in the future, please feel free to reach out to our Shared Services Help Desk. Again, by going to the home menu, you'll see the shared service information on the right-hand side of your screen. So with that said, I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of their afternoon and evening, and thank you very much for attending. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.